Who's that?
Her name's Bonnie Parker. She's got more personality than 9 movie stars put together. She's romantically linked with a rebellious, disenfranchised son of Texas. And it isn't just the man shooting the guns.
So you're saying there's sex, too?
I think the media was completely influential in the rise and fall of Bonnie and Clyde. Back then, because of the Depression, there's a certain kind of hatred and resistance to the government, to the law, and to banks because of all the foreclosures. And they were a kind of pointing fingers up to the law.
First of all, film was being discovered. Trashy, short, cheap versions of certain tales were being sold to people with not much education, and there was a great market for that. Sentimentalizing one's life became very, very important because of how difficult life was.
This was the early days of tabloid journalism, where people did not want to be reading about the depressing things that were happening in the world, and they would much rather read about Bonnie and Clyde and look at pictures of them in the newspaper. And it was the first time a woman had become a criminal in this way in America, and the public went wild.
But you cut out the most interesting part. A woman used a shotgun in a strong-arm robbery, and I get a quarter of a column on page 12, and I can't even use her name?
Once the papers caught wind that Bonnie was involved, a female was involved in robbing, they blew the story up. The media really helped with the rise and the fall in both aspects.
Pretty Boy and his ruthless associates opened fire with Tommy guns
Why the hell ain't we up
outside
there?
the Kansas.
Bonnie and Clyde, I think, really aspired to be someone like Dillinger, who was a total mastermind and a pro. And the more that the media fueled stories about Dillinger, the bigger the job they wanted to do.
Bonnie and Clyde, compared to John Dillinger and some of those other guys, were really sort of amateurs almost. But I think that the media certainly glamorized it, and it was good copy for all the newspapers to sell. So that definitely had an influence on them. They're seeing themselves being portrayed on the front page for all these different crimes in different newspapers, and it helped give them a certain motivation, you could say.
You know what I think, Clyde? I think we ought to do a bigger job.